I was talking to a founder who is going out to raise a seed round right now. And I'd spoken to this guy a couple of months ago. And the business he wanted to build versus the business he's pitching now is very different. It's like, well, why the difference? And he's like, because I need to get this off the ground, for which I need starting capital. And
Yeah.
the only way to get starting capital is to sell an AI story that has venture scale. So you're kind of like backing in from it has to be venture scale, it has to be an AI story. And that's the only way for me to get the money I need to even give this thing some legs, right? And that seems to be the struggle that a lot of people have. So they give up what might have been the thing that they're more excited to build, the business that might be the actual business worth building, and they have to go with this second or third tier idea because it's the only viable way to even get going. And the question that a lot of those people have, some of the folks in our Slack channel had this question for you, is that bootstrapping seems like such an attractive approach to running and building a business, but how do I get started? So is your advice to them that start something small that generates a little bit of cash flow and then use that to create, like, think more long term and think of it in stages? Is that the advice?
So I had saved money from my trading career. But by the way, I ended up plowing like $1 million in this thing, the first company. I think I could have gotten it off the ground. I would have spent every penny that I had up to a certain amount, right? Because that's just how, to me, on your first venture, that's just how it is. But I think I probably could, if I only had 200 grand to spend, I could have still got it to the same place, So that was my story. And I understand that's not the position that most people are in, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, so like there's an alternative to venture. I think it's harder now, but it's like kind of like a friends and family where the understanding is we're not trying to create Google here. Like, this is going to be a nice business. Maybe we'll pay dividends someday, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
And that's very, I mean, if that wasn't possible, there would be no restaurants in our country.
Yeah, exactly.
People are investing in businesses that are likely going to fail, where you're supporting the person that started it, that don't expect a venture return all the time.
Yep. All the time. And this software should be much more attractive than a restaurant, to be honest, especially if like you've done something before with yourself. So there's that. And then the way that I actually like the most, which I did not do, but I've heard many times, is like, I just have so many stories from the email space because I lived in the email space for 10 years. So like the MailChimp guys, they were running a web design agency, and like they had this email sending SaaS that they were building for their web design clients. And then there was like one day where the email sending SaaS was bigger than their web design business, and they turned it off and focused on it. And then whatever. Nathan Barry is another guy who's got this email SaaS called ConvertKit, just amazing bootstrap story. He was selling like info products, whatever, you know what I mean? So he started ConvertKit with 50K. I spent $1 million.
Really?
50 grand. Yeah. $50,000. Wow. Like it's actually a really good founder story. Like he was like getting nowhere with it. A year and a half in, he was about to give up. Like he talked to Heaton Shaw. Heaton Shaw's like, this is a dog. It's not going anywhere. You would have known by now. Give it up.
Who's Heaton Shaw?
He like used to be a Neil Patel type influencer, know?
BLG, Heaton Shaw.
Yeah. So like, and then something happened. He like did one more push, started hitting up this creator space before it was known as that. And it was just this viral loop it created with people with audiences recommending it to their audience, and it just went parabolic. So yeah. Another thing Nathan says, which I love, is that you may not want to start your entrepreneurial career as the founder of a SaaS company. That is really difficult for a lot of reasons, especially because most SaaS companies you have no brand. So usually your only option is like to start charging $9 a month or something, or 99 or whatever. You can't just normally start selling 100K ACV deals. So, and the reason is it just like, there's an amazing, another email reference here. Gail Goodman's the CEO of Constant Contact. She has this talk from like 15 years ago called The Slow SaaS ramp of death. and it's all about like building constant contact at 300 million in revenue, like $15 at a time, you know? And look, it takes a lot of, that's how my company was the first one. It's like the first subscription we sold was $15. And then, over the course of 8 years, we got up to 60, right? But like, it takes a lot of $15 payments to like pay somebody to build your website or whatever, it's just a hard game. What's easier? A consulting firm with, 3 customers, right? Like maybe start there, like learn the skill of, selling a service, providing a service, billing someone, providing support, making sure they're happy, making them happy enough to whether they refer other people. And then maybe start a SaaS a little later. Cause like, and there's all sorts of problems with starting SaaS, right? Like the classic problem that I've seen a lot is, somebody will say they want to build some software. I have this like, my brother swam at Stanford and his roommate is this guy, Tate, who's been my CTO for 12 years and he was an all-American swimmer and a comp sci major. Either one of those things at Stanford is remarkable. Doing both of them at once is, that's the kind of guy he is. And people talk to them are like, yeah, cool. So like, where do I get someone like Tate to like build this for me? It's like, well, you with no experience can't, right? Like, fortunately on my first venture, my brother knew him and like, he just hated his job so much that he's been working with me for 12 years. But like, that's another problem. It's like, how do you get someone to build this for you if you're a sales and marketing guy? I mean, if you're a tech person, then honestly, like distributions these days as big a problem as the tech is.
Yeah.
It's like there's just a bunch of impossible problems when you're starting out that just make it really hard to get going.
I definitely think I think getting going, if you're non-technical, building a software product is, again, that could be the kiss of death. And that's why, to the point, like I think a lot of non-technical people, I mean, my Pavilion is a services business, is a content business, is an events business. And when we've stuck our foot in the bear trap, it's been because we tried to become a software company when we weren't. And even to your point, Adam, I had a conversation with a founder that we all know who called me and said, I raised money because I thought I was going to build a software business. Turns out there's a lot of opportunity in the services business. That's kind of near and dear to my heart. But my investors are saying, I thought you were going to go try and build a unicorn. Why aren't you building software? If you want to build software, that's great. Give me my money back. Or if you don't want to build software, if you want to build a services business, give me my money back. And my advice was, it's a non-recourse investment. You don't get your money back. Maybe you can offer to pay them back a little bit over time, but I certainly don't think you need to like reverse the wires. But I do think the hard part about building software is, besides the fact that managing engineers is difficult if you don't have, this Stanford guy, it's just the upfront capital investment of, you're going to spend a long time building the software. And it's not going to be in any kind of shape that people would pay for a long time. And when people finally do pay for it, you'll have outlaid tremendous amounts of capital. So maybe in the modern world with GPTs and with copilots and maybe with even AI that can write its own software, maybe all of that will become far easier, which would be amazing. But
Sam,
in this environment, it's difficult.